For the last 18 months, if you wanted a Chinese-made electric vehicle in Canada, you had two options: pay double the price or simply forget about it. Canada, unfortunately, at that time, followed the United States into a complete and total trade war with China, effectively building a wall around our auto market. But as of a few days ago, March 1st, 2026, that wall has finally cracked and has been broken down. However, it was replaced with a gate, or I should say a very specific government-controlled gate. Prime Minister Mark Carney's landmark deal with Beijing has officially gone live as of March 1st, 2026. We're basically swapping canola for cars. 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles in 2026, rolling into 2027, and we're slowly going to build that up to between 75,000 and 80,000 units by 2030. And these are now allowed in Canada at a 6.1% tariff versus the 100% tariff before, which made it completely crazy to bring in any sort of Chinese-made vehicle into Canada. However, this has sort of become a high-stakes game of global chess. And who's actually going to come out on top in this deal? Is it going to be the consumer, the manufacturers, or a certain billionaire that is into rockets, electric cars, and now apparently AI? So basically, to understand who wins, we're sort of going to have to understand the basic workings of the trade deal. So we all know around October 2025, China retaliated against Canada's 100% EV tariff by basically crushing Canadian agriculture. The canola tariffs hit 84%, 90%, and our farmers were suffering a lot because they were exporting a lot of canola out to China. But basically now we've come to the sort of managed market agreement where they'll take canola if we take their car. So pretty interesting trade if you ask me. But as I mentioned, there's going to be winners, losers, and sort of the in-between. So basically, who's the winners in this deal? Well, obviously the prairie farmers, with China dropping their canola tariffs back to 15% in March, well, this month. The agriculture sector just got a huge part of their market back, and possibly their biggest market back overall. But that relief comes at a massive competitive cost for the East, and that's in terms of auto manufacturing in Canada. So we'll cover that in just a bit, actually. Before I go on, I think one of the biggest winners is going to be Tesla. I know you do not want to hear that whatsoever. And I've just made a few notes here so we could keep things rolling along. Well, a lot of you do seem to like these breakdown videos of information. So, before the 100% tariff, Tesla was the biggest importer of Chinese-made vehicles into Canada. And to be honest with you, most manufacturers were doing it. Honda was doing it for a while. They had the Honda Fit. I remember that was made in China. GM had a couple of Chinese-made models that they were bringing in as well. So there was quite a lot of Chinese cars coming into Canada. And basically, long story short now, the 50,000 units coming into Canada is sort of replacing what was already coming in 2023, 2024. But Tesla will be the biggest winner because, one, they already have a dealership network here to sell cars. They already have a service network. They have brand loyalty. They're a well-known brand already. Basically, Tesla has taken the Model 3 off the market in Canada, and according to rumors, they're shipping back all that American-made inventory back to the US, back across international borders, and apparently they will start shipping Chinese-made from Giga Shanghai cars back into Canada, the Model 3, Model Y. I just hope that they're not going to burn up all the allocations of cars. So we explained this in a previous video, just to touch base a bit on that. The first block of allocation is around 25,000 units between March 1st, 2026 and August 31st, 2026. Then from September 1st, 26 to March 1st, 27 is the other 25,000 units. And I think Tesla is going to bring in a lot of cars at this time, maybe 7 to 10,000 units, I would say, if I were to guess, because a lot of the Chinese manufacturers, well, pretty much all of them, are not ready to sell cars in Canada, as we've talked about before. Yeah, so expect China to also have export controls on the vehicles as well that come out of China. They're not just going to say, okay, well, 25,000 Teslas are going to go into Canada. No, I think they really want to focus on their more domestic brands coming into Canada, into the marketplace. But I think we might see that more either at the tail end of summer or in the second wave of cars sometime in December, if I were to have to guess, because they're still setting everything up here. I just know that Tesla, Volvo, they're going to immediately benefit from this. And who knows? Maybe Tesla will have a price war. I would like to see the standard, the base model, base Model 3 sell for, if they could bring it here for under 40,000, like 38, 39, and it will qualify for the rebate. Well, it's not going to stay in stock. I'm telling you that right now. So then we have the average buyer, and this has been something that I've been asked about. Even before range on the electric cars, it's going to be the EV market sort of stalled for a while. Once the credits dried up, the market stalled. We never got to that price point where we were looking at that 35 to even, I would say, $35,000 to $40,000 price range before rebates. We never got to that point. And that's the point everyone was looking at, because there's still a lot of people who buy cars in that $35,000 to even $42,000 range, myself included. And most people don't want $70,000, $80,000 Canadian loans on their vehicles. So now with a 6.1% tariff, we will see BYD. I'm telling you that right now. We will see BYD. We will see Chery, and Geely. They could finally bring cars into Canada and compete on the price. There's not going to be a lot of them at first, but it will build up. And I can also say with pretty much certainty that if everything stays the same and goes well, and both sides, Canada and China, are happy in this deal, I can see that cap maybe even going up to 100,000 cars. The current 49,000 unit only represents about 3% of the Canadian market. And to give you an idea, Hyundai Genesis last year sold about 150,000 cars here last year total. That's one brand. So I think Canada does around 2 million units a year in sales. This is going to be one of those things where the demand could outstrip the supply very quickly. Maybe expect invite-only wait lists, or who knows what's going on. As I said, I expect China to have export controls on the cars that are definitely coming over to Canada. But there's so many Chinese brands that nobody has heard of. Like even myself, I'm pretty in tune with the industry, and there's still like brands out there that I've never heard of. So there's just so many models, so many brands in China. And one of the brands I keep hearing a lot about, and I think we are going to see here because they're really growing in Europe, is going to be JQ and Omada. So Chery, they're going to launch here. They're actually looking for staff here. They've been looking at hiring staff here. And then you have Volvo, which is owned by Geely. We've covered this before. Now they can import their flagship ES90 into Canada again. And I don't think we'll see many of those, but they'll definitely be bringing in some models. I can tell you that with almost certainty as well. I think the JQ Omada thing will probably sell quite well here. I don't know how they're going to set that up at first, but all this is all preliminary talks. I think immediately off the bat is going to be Volvo, Tesla, Polestar are going to immediately. There's been no word of who applied yet. Hopefully that information will be out there soon and we could do a video on that. But unfortunately, if you have winners, you have the losers. Some might say it's the big three. I'm not so sure about that. And I read all the comments on my videos. I'm going to read the comments on this video and report them as well. Yeah, the big three, I'm not so sure. Their electrification strategy is a bit bizarre, But GM itself has a fantastic EV portfolio across all their brands, and they've really invested into it. They make some really good and compelling EVs at General Motors. But for decades, the Canadian auto industry has been an extension of Detroit. I think the federal government is sort of planning that this quota will force Chinese companies and just companies in general into joint ventures, essentially saying if you want to sell more than the quota, you have to build a factory in Ontario or in Quebec or wherever. I wouldn't put a car factory in Manitoba. Nothing against Manitobans, but just the supply industry is in southern Ontario, so that would be ideal for car production. Then you have companies like Ford and Stellantis that have just bled a whole bunch of money on their EV transitions. And I don't know. They're interesting. Ford has their next generation of EV coming out soon. And in general, for Stellantis, well, they just lost their 100% tariff protection. I mean, well, they all did. And if they can't build a $35,000, $40,000 EV in Canada by 2028, well, they might start seeing themselves squeeze out of their own backyard. But I'm not too sure if they have too much interest in selling a cheaper electric car. But weirdly enough, Stellantis, I do have a soft spot for. Stellantis is actually in a fairly good position as they have this insane pipeline of European cars that they can bring here. I mean, they're selling Fiat 500Es like you wouldn't believe. Canada still does have emission rules in place. They do have the carbon credit system in place for industrial car carbon credit. They still have that. They might relax it a bit, but I don't see them getting rid of it completely as the United States did. But in the Stellantis product portfolio, so you have Fiat, you have Peugeot, you have Citroën. They're going to be. Maybe they could bring them here, rebadge them as something else, or just honestly just sell it as a Peugeot, and I'll go get an E208 tomorrow, and I will never complain about it because it'll actually look good parked in front of my house. I mean, Stellantis could even go the Elite Motor route, as they have a joint venture with a Chinese manufacturer. Those are starting to pick up steam in Europe currently, and they're not bad vehicles. A lot of hate goes towards Stellantis, but they have a very compelling and very interesting product portfolio on the European side. We had that Opel Frontera, and there's nothing really wrong with it. The only issue was you couldn't precondition the battery when it was cold, but modify it for the Canadian market where you can. You might add some cost, but the battery conditioning is key if you want to sell a car here. Now, the big elephant in the room, according to the comments section, obviously, if you sell more electric cars, well, you're going to have to find a place to charge them. And there's no getting around that whatsoever. And I think this is where Tesla, again, might have the upper hand as they completely dominate the DC fast charging network in most of the country. I say most, not so much BC and Quebec. And we'll focus on the Quebec side because I'm not familiar with how it is in BC, although I keep getting asked to go out there and do some filming. It just never times out properly. So if you live in Quebec, you already know that having an EV here, I live in Montreal, having an EV here is as easy as owning a gas car. I mean, we are lucky. At my house, we do charge at home. I have 2 Tesla wall connectors, the universal wall connectors. And what's never really talked about too often is just how robust the level 2 charging is here in Montreal. Like right now on my street, I'm fairly central Montreal, and there's 4 posts on my street. They just redid the parallel street, and they just added another 4 or 5 there. So they're going crazy building level 2. As I said, we focus too much on the DC charging side. That is a big part of it, but I feel putting in a robust level 2 network takes a lot of pressure off DC charging, and it's way cheaper to install as well. But again, if we could convince a Chinese brand such as BYD to build charging, they already make charging equipment. In fact, if you've been to the UK or in Europe and used an InstaVolt site, chances are you are using a BYD charger, 160 kilowatts. We have a few videos of those. They're not very pretty working. They're not very pretty, but they work, and they work well. I mean, even driving down the 401 now, we just did that trip a few weeks ago, my sister and I, to the car show in Toronto. And, luckily we could use Tesla superchargers with the Ioniq 6, but I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket and only have Tesla build out a network. We're getting to the point here in Quebec where you'll end up at an exit, and that service station, well, that service area will have 3 or 4 different providers now. That's going to be in a video coming up very soon. We're getting to that Norway level where you have different companies battling it out for market share for charging. So I just want to put that out there. And just to end it, I would say this 2026 reset, the federal government reset all the rules with the EV market. Before, the old rules didn't make any much sense. They were like basically cobbled together and like, oh, we'll see if it sticks. It upset a lot of the manufacturers who had no vision of what product planning was going to be or how anything was going to work. So I think on that side, we're a lot more settled. But it's still a gamble. Like, it's still a gamble. Is the reset going to work? I think we're trying to balance everything out. It will. The farmers will be happy. They get to sell their canola to a huge market again. We might even sell some energy out to China as well. That takes care of that. The people's wallets buying the cars, they'll actually be in a better position to purchase a car. I mean, looking at $60,000 versus, a $35,000 JQ or Omada, people are still very price conscious. That's why VinFast sold a lot of units here, because they were leasing them at like $400 a month. There's still a lot of people that, even in my opinion, I mean, I'm in the auto industry, most people don't really care what they drive as long as it's reliable and it moves under its own power and it has Apple CarPlay. And again, you have the future of Ontario's factories. Like, is Hyundai going to come and build a factory here? Are you going to have a Chinese assembly plant where they'll be able to assemble local products? Who wins in this? In the short term, I think it's really going to be Tesla. They already have such an upper hand. I know their sales are down in Canada, but as an overall package, it's still the best overall package. No one's copied it yet. I know you don't want to hear this saying me praising Tesla, but Tesla as a package for an EV is still the easiest one to live with. So I think short term, they're going to win. In the long term, it depends if Chinese cars, if the quality is there, which it is. The reliability is the bit spotty side, getting the parts. Speaking to friends in Europe, they're still a bit spotty with the part supply, the servicing, the dealer network, that sort of thing. Also, there's the insurance implications. How much is that going to cost? And, are they going to invest in charging? The government is putting a lot of grants out there right now to build charging sites, but I don't feel a lot of them are well planned. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I just wanted to touch this, answer some of your questions, and yeah, we'll just see where it goes. You like to hear these Chinese EV videos. I just want to see if we covered everything up here. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So I think Tesla immediately will benefit from it. Volvo to a certain extent, and Polestar will immediately benefit. And hopefully we get some Chinese brands in here. Like, my lease on my Mini Cooper is up in December, and we're debating, like, do we buy it back or do we go and get something else? So we'll have to see. Hopefully we get MG here, and I could go buy like an IM5 or an MG4 or something. So I think we'll leave it off at that. It's already going a bit too long, and we shall see you in the next video. Please let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Channel's really growing fast, and I reply to everybody's comments, no matter how crazy they are. You will get a reply from me, or at least a like. So we'll see you in the next video.